Hi, I have good news. So I just walked today. I successfully dieted Sunday, most of yesterday, and all of today. And going forward, I'm going to be pushing to do this every day. I kind of don't really know how to say this, but this is crucial. I finally figured out after a year and a half of just crashing and burning and rapidly gaining weight and just why I have last week I was struggling with something unrelated to these videos. I believe in prayer and scripture study. And I had a moment where I was praying like when will I ever overcome this one thing that I'm dealing with right now? This personal thing that I have struggled with on and off. There are so many times that I thought I was done with it and it came back. And I just had this realization that for several months now, I have not had serious prayers. I have not really set aside time each day to have an uninterrupted prayer where I'm just pouring my heart out. 5 years ago, I had a moment. I think I was having kind of a basic prayer. Like, that's it. I've tried everything. I just, no matter what I do, I can't lose the weight. And I had this very strong thought suddenly. You haven't tried everything. It just seemed clear that I had not tried to consistently pray every day for help with this problem. I had a number of small successes after I started doing that because I wanted to lose weight very badly. But I never really had a ton of success. I never really lost a ton of weight. But I started seeing a bunch of success with really small things that also really mattered. And so I had enough small successes that, well, at least I had those. I had periods where I started focusing on the weight again, praying about it every day, and periods where I just kind of forgot about it. And about 4 years ago, I started studying scriptures every day. Now, really, for me, this is listening to talks. I would take notes and all sorts of stuff. These days, I listen to them over and over and over again until I notice things that I didn't notice all the other times. Over the past couple of days, it just struck me. Like, I started focusing really hard after this sudden realization last week that I needed to have a serious prayer every day as well as studying the scriptures, so to speak, every day. And all of a sudden, some of these personal problems that I don't bring to these videos all of a sudden weren't problems anymore. It struck me so much that I actually really started to wonder, is this the reason why I have been struggling so much for the past year and a half? I haven't been able to get a job. I was out of a job for a whole year. In 6 months, I'm going to be out of a job again. Just all these things that I've been dealing with and concerns that are hitting me now because I feel like I've been trending downwards. For a while there, I thought I was trending upwards, where things were slowly starting to work out. And over the past year and a half, they all just started to rapidly not work out anymore. And I was befuddled. I'm still trying to do all these things that I think I'm supposed to be doing. And it didn't matter how hard I tried. Church things, my faith, working out, dieting, none of it mattered. Looking for jobs, couldn't get one in my field no matter what I did. As I was thinking about this over the past several days, it just suddenly hit me that when I started losing a lot of weight, for some reason, having that serious prayer every day just kind of subtly stopped being a thing. At the time, I was learning over and over again that I needed to keep being consistent with scripture study. And so I kept thinking I have to be consistent with scripture study. So for the past 9 months, that's the thing that I've really focused on. And I just kept thinking, well, I mean, I have lots of little prayers throughout the day, so I kept thinking I'm good. I believe I'm supposed to do that too, but I felt like it suddenly struck me 2 years ago. That's why 3 years ago, all sorts of things started working out. I was going to school and getting certified. I was getting help to do projects, hands-on work. I had more of a network to help me then than I feel like I have now. There were all sorts of things that, even though I was struggling, seemed to fall into place. And now, no matter how hard I try, nothing just falls into place. Is that why? Because when I started working out and I was studying at home and I was spending 3-4 hours at the gym and then 3-4 hours at school every day, and I would come home and I would sit in my chair and I would start to unwind and watch YouTube, and I would just pass out and not have my prayer. And I just kept thinking, well, I mean, I'm having all sorts of little prayers throughout the day, so I'm good. And ever since then, I've slowly fallen apart. And I've fallen apart further than I had before that. I don't know what to say if you just don't believe in religious things, or this is my experience. Like, it would be really easy to just say, you can't know that those correlate. But I know my life pretty intimately. I was there. I'm kind of the only one that's really been there for all of it, or even a significant portion of it. I think other people could certainly appreciate, even people who might not believe in God, if you have that moment where you just know why, X, Y, or Z happened. You know what you need to do. And whatever that thing is, you now stand by it. And people can't just tell you that you don't know what you're talking about, because you were there. You experienced it. And you saw that all of a sudden when you made X changes, that Y and Z happened, or, whatever. The second I made those changes last week, those smaller things instantly stopped being problems. And that was right in line with my experience with those problems and other similar problems that I deal with that aren't really worth bringing here. But I noticed anytime I slipped for even a few days on on the combination of scripture study and serious prayers every day, that all of a sudden things that just weren't hard suddenly became hard. And this was only noticeable with the small things. With the big things, it was much longer term, and that perfectly explains what I have gone through over the past several years, where I was doing both on a pretty consistent basis. I can't recall if I was perfect or not, but all of a sudden, with a much faster progression, things started to work out than they were when I was just having a serious prayer every day. Things were working out, but it was a slow progression. I had spent much of my life kind of feeling like, well, I haven't experienced a lot of things that other people get to experience. You just spend all your time trying to get through the day. You don't have this or that to look forward to, so you try and, build a movie collection that you can rotate through over and over again. And, you find ways to cope like that. Even though big things that I really want and need weren't happening, at least, this, and this were happening. I had faith that praying every day did make a difference. I wondered at many times if there was some sort of correlation in timing to how big the thing was, because I would be driving down the road one day and suddenly remember something that I had prayed for, almost exactly how I had prayed for it. I have a terrible memory like that. That's not something I'm usually able to do. All of a sudden, I just remembered, and I suddenly thought, and now that has happened. Whatever that thing was, and every once in a while that thing would happen. It just kind of seemed like the bigger the thing, the longer it took. If it was a small thing, it could happen within a few days to a few weeks. If it was a little bigger, maybe 4 to 6 months. If it was really big, like I had been praying for a long time to lose weight, then maybe 2-3 years. And all of a sudden 2 years ago I started losing weight. It was so easy to lose weight. It just wasn't an issue anymore. I had no doubt, like I remember this being a huge issue. I couldn't lose the weight. And now it's just, well, I mean, I'll just fast a few extra days, or I'll jog a little longer than I usually, whatever I would push a little harder. It's like, we'll get through this. It won't be a big deal. Over the past year and a half, that has completely gone away. If you don't believe me, well, suddenly it's not nearly as difficult to do a lot of the basic things that I struggled to do daily. It's still, a little bit of a challenge. I watched a video just a couple of days ago from Ambition Strikes where they went to just off Seattle, this beautiful island chain. They chartered this guy and a boat from a company to take him and show him how to do stuff for 3 days. And then the first night they stayed at this one island. I don't remember what it's called, but there was this fancy restaurant. And so they ate there and they showed themselves and at the restaurant, and they showed their plates real quick. And oh man, this is so good. And I looked at them and my mouth started watering as I was looking at it. But I'm just like, I can't explain it. I was able to keep going with my diet. I couldn't believe it. I thought, with how much easier this is, I want to keep going. I suppose I have to give myself homework. My goal is to keep doing this as many days as I possibly can. Just give myself one cheat day. Not necessarily where I break the diet, but if I'm going to have a meal that I'm going to enjoy, I'm going to want to eat a lot. I intend to keep this going. I'm going to walk again Thursday since it's my day off. For homework, I'm going to try and get something like sour cream, some sort of fat that I can have with my shake, because fat's actually good for you. But it has to be a certain kind of fat. Pure olive oil, sour cream, lard, butter, coconut oil, heavy cream. Because if you just have tons of protein and not very much fat, that's actually, there's all sorts of problems. Some you probably wouldn't want to even hear about. So it's just better to have more fat than protein. And so if you're working out, lots of fat and adequate protein. I'm going to try and keep this diet thing going. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. I'm already doing leaps and bounds better and day after day than before. That over dieting successfully only 1 or 2 days a week before this, that's a huge improvement. So anyway, that's it. I'll see you. Bye. I was at MTech and I didn't know it at the time, but the chairs we sat in leaned back. The act of leaning back in these chairs caused me to have sciatic nerve pains. Every time I got up, it was like I was an old man because I just couldn't get out of the chair without excruciating pain. And the pain would kind of get a little better. It's actually kind of funny recounting these things about the sciatic nerve episode, because that's now what I'm going through with my foot. Every time I get up, it's excruciating, and if I just get up and start walking around like there's no big deal, I'm not leaning over or putting weight on things around me or whatever, and I just keep pushing through it, the pain doesn't completely go away. Since then, I've learned anytime I have a sciatic nerve pain, I don't have a choice. I have to do like a 5-day keto fast. In fact, I was just thinking about that today. Maybe that's what I gotta do. I gotta do a 5-day keto fast for my foot. And I just keep expecting that it's gonna heal, without me having to do that. And I'm closer now to being able to do that than I have been in quite a while. So maybe that is what I'm supposed to do.